All right, so at this point, Frank has found evidence that econ majors and non-econ majors behave differently when presented with a prisoner's dilemma game and they're not allowed to communicate no promises prior to the game. The economists are much more likely to defect than the non-economists, the non-economists showing higher rates of cooperation than the economists. And this raises a question, why this difference? And when Frank was asking them to give reasons for their choices, the economists were saying things like, well, the rules of the game are such that a self-interested move would be in one's interest, right? So it was as if the econ majors were construing the game as a game of self-interest. On the other hand, the non-economists tended to give different types of answers for why they chose what they chose, often citing, their feelings for the other participant, right? That sympathy, we might say. Well, it raises the question. Now, by the way, we should say, remember, this was only found for the non-communication condition. Remember, in the unlimited condition, no difference really between the economists and the non-economists. So when econ majors are allowed to interact with others, communicate with them, and perhaps make promises, then you don't see this difference in behavior. But when not allowed to, right, that's when you see this difference, much more defection on the part of the economists. It raises the question, well, why is this? Right? It's one thing to say, well, these are economists and they're studying economics, but is there evidence that training in economics is actually causing this, or is this just a correlation? So that's what we want to get to next, and Frank is going to address this. The question is causal power. Does the training in economics cause the more self-interested behavior? Now, here are some of the findings, and I'll show you the data in a second. Non-econ majors show a decline in defection as they proceed through school. Econ majors show no significant decline. Something seems to prevent the change. All right, let me just show you the data, and I'll come back to the other point here. So let's take a look. Defection rates here for the economists and non-economists, and the darker bar would be underclassmen, lighter bar upperclassmen. So for non-econ, let's start there. When they're younger, earlier in their college career, underclassmen, they're showing 53.7% defection rates. But as they go through college, defection rates decline, right? So as upperclassmen, lower defection rates. But notice that econ majors start out with high defection rates, right? And it stays high throughout their college career. Right, so there's something seems to be, if we take the non-econ majors as sort of a snapshot of what other sorts of college people are like, then there's something about training in economics that might be inhibiting this decline, right, in defection rates. The other point here, econ majors 42% more likely than non-econ majors to predict that their partner will defect. It's as if they're learning that people act according to self-interest most of the time, and that's what sort of the economics models portray in the textbooks in economics. This notion of the self-interested, rational individual, right? Well, if they would approach this prisoner's dilemma game as a self-interested, rational individual, they're going to defect. And so econ majors are predicting that the others are going to be defecting more often than non-econ majors. And so then it makes sense that they themselves will defect if they predict that their partner will defect. But you see here, the econ majors are sort of, they're more likely to predict their partner will defect, but it's as if the econ majors are attributing to the non-econ majors the same type of economics training that they themselves have had. Right? So they're learning about the idea that people act according to self-interest, and so then they sort of are predicting that others will act according to this view as well. But they don't seem to be acting according to that view as much as the econ majors are. Okay, so here's the idea that non-econ majors are showing a decline in defection, but the econ majors not. it's as if the training in economics is maintaining these high defection rates. They're learning a worldview, and that worldview is that people are rational and self-interested. And if they're learning that, then of course they're going to think that other people are rational and self-interested. So when they approach a prisoner's dilemma game, they're going to predict that the other one's going to defect, so they themselves are going to defect. But that doesn't seem to be happening for the non-econ majors. The overall lower levels and a decline as they go through college. Here's another approach to this. Frank compiled some data on these survey questions of honesty. Now imagine, here's the question. A small business owner is shipped 10 computers, but only billed for 9. Should the owner report the error to the computer company? Right? And this would be how it was scored. How likely is it that the owner reports the error? Okay, so each subject was to judge, how likely would the owner do that? Some other person on a scale of 0 to 100%. And then how likely is it that you would report the error, right? If you were at the company, at the business. The other honesty question was a lost envelope with $100 is found with the address on it. And again, the two questions. How likely is it that your lost letter will be returned to you by a stranger? Right? And again, on these scales, 0 to 100%, how likely is it that you would return the letter? Now, does the course of study matter? So subjects were asked these questions at the start and the end of the semester, right? So these two questions were given to college students at the beginning and the end of a semester course in economics, but there were some differences. In Econ A, those students had an instructor that emphasized the prisoner's dilemma type games, emphasized the sort of rational, self-interested characterization of human economic interactions. Another group of students who got these honesty questions were in Econ B. Here the instructor was different, and this instructor did not emphasize these games. So there was a different emphasis in these two economics courses. They used a textbook, a standard textbook here, but the difference between these two courses is the emphasis in the prisoner's dilemma type games. And then, as a sort of control, another group of students who were taking astronomy were given these honesty questions at the beginning and the end of the semester. So let's take a look at what the results were. Okay, so here are the results for the Econ A course. Now, these are the questionnaire findings. Here are the questions, the 4 questions that you just saw. The dark bars are going to be students who were less honest the second time they answered the question than the first, so at the end of the semester, and the lighter bar would be students becoming more honest over the course of the semester, as judged by their answers to the question. So question 1, does the owner report billing? 45.8% were less honest in the econ course, 33% more honest. Question 2, do you report? 41.7% less honest. Right? So over the course of the semester, they were less honest at the end than they were at the beginning. 27 more honest. Question 3, does the stranger return? Less honest. Do you return? 29.2 less honest. More honest. So you can see what seems to be going on here is that the Econ A course is related to a significant decrease in honesty. Now let's see how that compares to the Econ B. Here's the Econ B results. For Econ B, we have question 1, does the owner report billing error? 44% more honest. Notice in general, the more honest bars are as high in these two conditions or higher in this question here than the less honest bar. Question 3, still the less honest bar is a little higher. But certainly a difference, right, compared to Econ A. Now let's take a look at the astronomy course. Take a look at the astronomy course. Let's see, where is that? Oops, I gotta get this going here. Okay, so here's the astronomy course, and again, the more honest bars, higher for this question, higher for that question, higher for this question. This one, does the stranger return your lost, similar to the Econ B. Not as much difference there between the less honest and more honest. So in this view, we can see all three of the results plotted together. So again, here's the Econ A course, where the instructor was emphasizing sort of the rational self-interested model using prisoner dilemma type games, and what you get is, over the course of the semester, less honesty as judged by those honesty questions before and after the semester. Econ B, the bars look different. More honesty in more of the cases compared to the Econ A. And in astronomy, you see even larger effect. Greater honesty at the end of the semester in astronomy. Frank argues that students become less honest over the semester when they take these economics courses, the microeconomics course that emphasizes the prisoner's dilemma and other examples of how survival interests can militate against cooperation. Right? In astronomy, students became more honest. So overall then, he's arguing that economics training has some role in shaping how people construe social situations. Economics courses are presenting a model of human behavior, a model of human nature, in a sense, that we are these rational individuals who behave in these self-interested ways. Well, if econ majors are learning that, then they're going to be sort of expecting that and predicting that in others, and that's influencing how they construe a prisoner's dilemma type game. Another interesting finding in Frank's book on charitable giving, economists show lower overall charitable contributions than the non-economists.